29th of April 2024. The reason that I'm in the chair and not the mayor is the mayor is in Rhodes, poor thing, sunbathing. So I'm in the chair. So I'm sure she's enjoying the holiday. Right, first of all, have we any apologies?
Yes, Chairman, Councillor Mrs Fellows and Charles Humphreys.
Thank you very much. I can't see any other people absent actually. So. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest for anybody? No? No? That's unusual. Okay, let's move on then. To confirm as the correct record, the minutes of the meeting of the council held on the 22nd of January 2024 in the council chamber here. It's in Richard's house. Have somebody to move those. Councillor Brooks, the seconder.
Happy to second.
Then, all in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? And that's carried indeed. Number 4, you will all notice this rather nice picture of the King. I'm pleased to say it's back in circulation, which has been presented. You'll see here it's the official portrait, and we've now got to find somewhere to keep it permanently. Have we got any ideas?
We're thinking of a change around, so it's a prominent place, perhaps this wall.
Well, it's a very good picture of him, so I'm sure we'll enjoy looking at it once to see the King staring down on us. I do like all these things he's wearing. Perhaps we could, at some point, when we've got a bit more time, compare the two things. Okay, anybody got any comments on that? Thank you, but thank you for bringing it down to show us, Mark and Katie, and pleased to do that. Item 5 is policing in Droitwich Spa. I've got 2 police officers here, so can we hand over to you? Thank you.
Okay, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Sergeant Atkinson, so I'm Sergeant for Droitwich Spa and surrounding areas. So, as you've seen, I don't know if everyone's had the report on. It's
being circulated.
It's being circulated, okay. So what I normally do is just go through the different areas of criminality where I believe most people are most concerned about. So we started off with the burglaries and obviously going through the stats on that. So been relatively quite low over the last couple of months. Has anyone got anything that they'd like to say with regards to burglaries? No. Okay, and obviously as part of the local policing team, if anyone is a burglar, victim of a burglary, we have a standard practice that within 5 days of the actual burglary, we'll go and visit the victims. And obviously the S&T, local policing department will go and offer reassurance, security advice. We have our design out crime officers that go out and get security, and how things can be improved. Just to get that reassurance, because obviously it's a horrendous event for the person, so it's just going to give them reassurance, give them smart water, and obviously go around to the neighbours as well to make them aware of the burglary. So that's the type of things that we do. And then obviously we'll have a police officer, normally it'll be from our local police, well, the patrol team, sorry, which will go out, crime it, with all the details and to see what evidence there is. And obviously we help with that as well, so we have obviously this new CCTV, any ring doorbell, any evidence of who may have committed that crime. But as I say, it's quite low, so which is quite good. That's what I like to see. And then we go on to commercial burglaries. So most of those have been in our industrial estates. Again, they're not horrendous figures, but we did have a bit of spate up in the industrial estate where they were targeted. So some really good work with some of our partners within the police, so our CID, local police and patrol. We actually, with our intelligence department as well, we managed to put a picture together of some vehicles that were used in some of those commercial break-ins, and 6 people were subsequently arrested and being dealt with for those burglaries, which is quite good. Most of which obviously not local residents, and they're obviously travelling from outer areas and obviously committing the crime. Has anyone got any questions on the commercial burglaries? Antisocial behaviour, which is obviously one of our main issues. Again, it's relatively quite low, although we know that antisocial behaviour continues. It's probably just not being reported. I see a lot of it goes on to Spotted Droitwich and different social media platforms, but unfortunately people are calling it in, it's not making us fully aware. So it makes it difficult for us to target, obviously, criminal damage and antisocial behaviour. The main issue has obviously been graffiti. So through some work with all the different teams, the local policing team, we've identified 2 culprits and they've had restorative justice, which meant they had to clean up their mess. So what they created. So I'm aware of parents with that, but again, we're just urging members of the public to call if they see anyone acting suspiciously, so we can robustly deal with anyone with antisocial behaviour. If anything does come to light with antisocial behaviour, our new process is that we will go out and visit them, even though they're first-time offenders. We will go out and visit each youth and their parents to try and prevent them from reoffending. And then we have an early intervention team, which is our problem-solving team, and they will go out and speak to the youth to prevent them obviously from reoffending, with the hope of trying to prevent them from reoffending. So that's our antisocial behaviour. Has anyone got any questions though?
Councillor Brown.
Well, as a reformed
Sorry.
teenager,
Yeah.
why isn't it called criminal damage graffiti
Um,
or scribble?
Well, it is. So everything that we deal with now, the crime has become better over the years. So where sometimes we would just say it's antisocial behaviour, actually now we have to crime for something. So it's not under the umbrella of antisocial behaviour, but we will then crime it as either like a harassment, criminal damage, or whatever is sort of appropriate for it, public order, assaults. But sometimes it still falls under the umbrella of antisocial behaviour, but it will be dealt with as a criminal offence.
Okay, Councillor Franks.
It was, obviously I don't want to know the identities of the individuals, but what would be good if we knew what the identity of their signatures was, because I'm going around cleaning up graffiti,
Right, okay.
and if I know what theirs looks like, I would be happy to report it to you so they can come back down and clean it up.
I know one was Scope,
Yeah, I'm sure I'm still.
so maybe it hasn't cleaned all of it off, and obviously the arm, that's.
You send us a picture of the ones that have been, that you know they're responsible for.
I know one's responsible for the Scope, and then there's another one which there wasn't much. So these aren't our main offenders, unfortunately. So they're ones that got the ASKR and basic. So those type of ones, and I see that there's some new tagging as well, which are potentially are linked. So that's the same group as basic. So the signatures look quite similar. So the ones which are prolific that I'd like to know the identity of are the ones that we don't at the moment, and the ones that we've caught, the 2, aren't really the main offenders as such. They've done the Scope one's done quite a few.
Could you update us in future if you find
Yeah,
it, because
of course,
then we can get them to clean it instead of.
Yeah, we do tend to put it on social media. The other lad that was caught, he didn't really have that much. Can't remember which one that was.
But Nuffield Drive, this is somewhere under Nuffield Drive. Apparently that wasn't painted under the subway, painted over the graffiti. Now that's come back, so someone's been there within the last week and graffitied over there where it's been painted again. So I have got some pictures here if anybody wants to see any.
But again, it's going back to if anyone sees anything suspicious, or it's only if we're walking around whether we'll know it's you. But if it's kind of reported to us, it just kind of helps a little bit so we know that the new one is, and then have a look at the extent of the actual issue as well. Although we have got a problem-solving plan in place, which probably means nothing to anyone, but it's basically a way of analysing an issue. So that can be anything. And then we'll just go through, analyse it, what the problem is, why is that a problem, and think about ways to address it. So that's a lot of the time it's us working with partners, because obviously we can't deal with the whole issue ourselves, and it's probably working with things like the council and housing department, we know who they are. So it's about collectively working in partnership to address the issue. So we have actually got a problem solving plan in place for that as well, the antisocial behaviour and graffiti. which really just encouraging people. I mean, people will know something, but they've just done the same thing.
It is a bit difficult because they seem to target the places where there's no CCTV. They come in the dead of night, so there's not many people around. So it's really difficult to find out who these people are.
Do you think they're targeting Droitwich because it was featured on some BBC programme recently? I don't know what, but I know it's on the BBC website. And there's that, maybe that the more fuss is made about it, the more it's going to attract people from other towns. into
Yeah, so
Droitwich.
it's not just Droitwich, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
It's
it's
everywhere. It's only over the last 2 years, it's really been prolific, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it was, we never had new issues up until about 2 years ago. And now everybody's going on board and doing the same thing, aren't they? We can't say that it's exactly the same people that's doing it. They might just be taking their tags and doing it, different people in different areas. We can't say it's the same prolific people all the time because we don't know that, because we don't know who they are.
Although I would say the issue is, it's not just a Droitwich issue. So if you travel through to Bownheath, to Worcester, to Kidderminster, to Brom's Road, everywhere you go, although I do see the same tag sometimes, so they probably travel to.
Actually, I'm pretty sure I was in Belgium a fortnight ago. I've never seen anything like the graffiti there. So I think it's not just Britain, but any more questions on this aspect, Councillor Roberts?
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to make the point how pleased I was, and I found out how pleased a lot of residents were where you were making the graffiti artist paint it all out. And I hope that that's something which you can perhaps do more of, because I think it does send that message.
Well, I'm hoping to kind of have that standard for everyone. However, they'll catch the one that does the basic, we get something a bit more than that, because his is so bad that I think
We don't know we don't know who it is who that target.
Yeah.
So,
I think that is making reparations is
Oh, yeah, then whoever, I'm presuming it's a his ones, yeah.
Right.
Maybe stereotyping there.
Any more questions on that part of the report? No, if you'd like to carry on, that's
No,
great.
okay,
Thank you.
so I read that one, probably have some questions. Okay, so we've gone from antisocial behaviour. So the next topic is violence, obviously still very low in Droitwich. I know some of the figures there saying sort of February, March and April is kind of in double figures. Although when we're doing those figures, it does incorporate any type of assault. So those could be domestic related, so it's not usually stranger violence. So we're normally very safe in Droitwich, and most of those issues are people that know each other, neighbourhood disputes, domestics and stuff like that. So that's nothing to worry about. Shoplifting, I know is one which is a current topic where shoplifting has been reported increasing. Again, we're working with our businesses in the town centre and obviously just outside to report any issues with shoplifting. Because the more they're reported, the more they can be dealt with. I'm working with our partners to sign up to Business Watch, which is a WhatsApp group, so they can help each other by sharing images if they've had issues with anyone. So the businesses can work together to prevent any further shoplifting or issues. But we are working with the shops at the moment to address that, and then we've got people which have been caught for shoplifting recently, and they're going through the criminal justice system. And then if they're prolific, we look to get a community behaviour order, which then the courts put conditions on them, which helps us, so we can have that they don't enter a particular area or particular shop. Anything on shoplifting?
Yeah, I'm sorry to ask a question.
Okay.
I was told that there's at least one violent shoplifting occasion at Aldi when a female shop worker was kicked on the floor.
Right, okay.
Are there many violent shoplifting events in Droitwich?
There's not a lot reported, no, and we'll have to have a look at that one specific, because I don't know about that one, but I don't know how long ago that one was, but each shoplifter is different. Not to say it would never happen, it's very rare, and a lot of the time we do have local people which are shoplifters, but you know, some of the recent ones that we've had are from Droitwich, so.
They travel on the train and they come into Droitwich and they just get what they want. If it's not reporting, then they leave. But the thing is, we've been trying to make all the shop owners all aware that they need to report everything. If there's any shoplifting, because a lot of them don't. If they don't report it, we can't act on it, and we can't link it together with any other shoplifting. It all needs to be reported, so we're trying our hardest to make all the supermarkets and shops in Droitwich aware that everything needs to be reported.
So yeah, patrols have increased around towns and it's just building that rapport and relationship with the businesses. So obviously we continue to do that and encourage reporting, and as I say, anyone calls we've dealt with robustly, but again, we need the evidence. So it's things like we need the CCTV, we need some evidence of that particular offence. And then it just goes on to the vehicle crime, theft of motor vehicle and theft from motor vehicle. So we've recently had some lorries which have been broken into in a very industrial state. That's just current, so we're looking into that at the moment and currently looking at potentially getting some security up there, so obviously so the lorry drivers feel safer. I think that's that, really. And theft of motor vehicles, that's very low. So we have had at least a motorbike and vehicle stolen over the last couple of months. But that's reasonably quite low, and I think one was a civil matter as well, so it's a relative. Any questions?
Can I just say, thinking about the next item we're going to talk about, is the speeding. We got our list of priorities from last year,
Yeah,
and it's not on your list here, because I know that not all the way near where I live, you've had the vehicles out checking speeding, what was the results of all lines?
yeah,
We had
so,
some results from it.
yeah, you can imagine, we've actually covered quite a large area, and
Yeah.
every area,
Yeah.
unfortunately speeding seems to be an issue everywhere. So we do go out and some of the PCSOs do surveys so we can check if that road is a particular issue. We're increasing our community speed watch, so we've got a few groups now which are involved in that across the area of West Mercia. Then we've got databases, so we've got some boxes, which is quite exciting now. So the boxes are better because people see us, and obviously when people see us, they slow down, so you don't get accurate figure of what's speeding. So these boxes that can go for a week, and they can stay out day and night, Monday to Sunday. And then so you can get an accurate figure to what time of day the speeding is, if it's a weekend, you can get some accurate data. So we're just getting trained up on that. So hopefully if there's any particular area that is an issue, we can put the speed box out and then we can monitor that over a week.
I was interested with the Holloway, for instance, it was actually Sunday morning, which I thought was rather odd, because the speeding happens when the school's open, when people are racing to school. That's
All the
why
time,
I
all the
couldn't
time.
understand why you added one of the Sunday morning, actually.
Yeah.
It's availability as well for the police officer and police officer.
Anyway, any other, Richard, do you think?
Thank you. First of all, just well done to you and the team, because I know coming in fairly new and then building up, there's been some effort, and I think it's going really well. But then I'd like you to explain a bit about the CPSO for the schools and
Yes.
possible additional police for the town centre.
Okay, so we've got a school, there's been a lot of changes over the last couple of years. So we used to have quite a few CSOs in the schools. Unfortunately, changes were made, we made those changes, and those PCSOs, which were dedicated schools, came out, and then we just had between ordinary PCSOs and police officers, we had to go in. But then it was obviously identified actually to have someone linked to the school is actually better. I don't know who did that there, but actually it was. So now we've got a school PCSO, so we have got one, but she will then deal with Droitwich and Herschel from year 6 to year 9. So that's the age group that they're looking at, because it's been identified through stats that actually that's the best age to target young people for education. So that's what she's going to be concentrating on. So she's going to be based in Droitwich, but she will be going up to Herschel. But obviously in Droitwich we've got more schools because obviously we've got a 3-tier system. So she's going to base herself in Droitwich and go in, and that'll be engaging with the children, engaging with the teachers, and looking at any sort of vulnerabilities, any offences and safeguarding. And that's obviously educational stuff as well, so which is really, really handy. So that's our school PCSO. So she started now. So she's obviously just finding her feet and going out and introducing herself to the schools, and then she'll be getting up and running and obviously starting any sort of educational work or whatever's needed for her role within the schools. So that's the school PCSO. I mean, obviously, as a local policing team as well, we go into schools, so the younger children and the older children, sort of like from year 10, obviously that'll be our responsibility still. Probably to help maybe with the school PCSO if we need to, but we will certainly obviously still engage with the younger children, primary school age, and obviously year 10 upwards. So if there's anything that needs to be done. So all years will be covered. That school PCSO will obviously just concentrate on those particular year groups, so between 6th and 9th. Yeah, so we'll hopefully anytime soon be getting another PC, which we start in Droitwich. So I've heard potentially it's mid-July he may be arriving, but we've got no definite dates at the moment. But that's the aim because he's transferring from another police force, so obviously it just takes a little bit while with vetting, etc. And then he's already been allocated the town area. So we have east, west, and then we'll have town, but he will do the residential areas around the town as well and focus on the businesses within the town. So that's good. We've got more resources, which is also very welcome, and that visibility, and yeah, so looking forward to that.
Any more questions before? Yes, Bob, nothing, Brooke, sorry.
Thank you.
Formal meeting, sorry.
Yeah, just in the nature of a request, please. As the weather is improving now, we're starting to get the gatherings of young people on St Peter's Fields. And usually over our back gates, a very strange smell drifts across, some kind of cigarettes, but I don't know about that. But I would be grateful if it were possible to have perhaps a little bit more police presence if that is possible. I appreciate it's difficult because you can't do a drive past.
Yeah.
Somebody would actually have to, walk across that area to see what was happening. And I appreciate we may not have the resources all the time, but if that could have some attention, I would be most grateful.
Of course. What time is it, day or night? Is it?
It tends to be evenings, and in fact,
Is that sort of
when it
early
gets dark.
evening or?
No, in fact, it's a late evening when it gets dark.
The difficult thing for us as SMT, we only work until 10 p.m.
Okay.
That's the only issue for us. Obviously, we would love to do that, but we will try and do the patrols before 10 p.m.
Well, I think
as
about
near to
9
10 p.m. as we can.
Yeah, I think about 9 would be probably a
But
good time.
If you could also phone it in as well, if it's happening.
I will
Although,
certainly do
We
that.
just do different shifts, that's all, so there's still always police officers in Droitwich.
yeah,
So even though the local policing team may be on, maybe 10, sometimes we might finish at 12. Obviously the police officers, but we do have a local policing team which is 24/7.
Yeah.
So we can certainly look at the issues and try to address them, trying to identify, go through the ASB process of trying to identify them and deal with them. But if it is an issue at a particular time, which is early hours in the morning, obviously that's certainly where we'll be putting in other resources to.
we do have response in
Yeah,
Droitwich.
it's normally a bit earlier.
Yeah.
That I was not making a complaint, please.
No, that's
you
fine.
do a
It's
marvellous
always
job,
useful to know, as we're
and I
saying.
appreciate the
that-
spread thin.
Yeah,
From time to time. I mean, I'm quite happy to call it, and I have to, unfortunately, hopefully things have changed a bit now, but when I called them in once or twice, I think the operators weren't properly trained, so I was trying to explain exactly what the smell was,
yeah.
and it just happened, I'm married to a pharmacist and I've got a GP as a daughter, so they're all quite familiar with what these things are.
Yeah. of course.
So, but I was having difficulty convincing the actual call centre
Right.
to pass it on. So maybe that might be just worth a casual mention.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely
And I'll
fine. It's
certainly-
always
I'll really
worth
call
finding
it in.
issues.
And if I call it in, I do appreciate if on that occasion you can't do anything because it's more serious on it. So I do understand.
Although there are processes, so if you call it in, you're obviously graded,
Yes,
and then there's no staff at the time because they're going to
Yeah.
grade ones, they will always notify the local policing team anyway, so we would follow it up.
oh, that's good. But again, I do appreciate there may be far more serious and immediate things to do. But again, as and when, I'll be very good. Thank you very much.
Councillor Davison.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why the PCSOs finish at 10? Who decided that kind of policy from high up somewhere? And is there anything we can do because it seems that so much antisocial behaviour and everything else occurs after 10 p.m,
Yeah.
especially as the nights get longer. Can we kind of like sort of raise this with our MP or something like that to try
It's
and,
only
well, our current
Yeah, because
MP?
it used to be 12 o'clock,
Yeah,
and it's been
yeah.
reduced to 10.
It's resources, financial resources, you see. So it was up until November 2023, we were working up until 12 p.m. But due to the financial situation, we've been downgraded to 10 p.m, I'm afraid.
So it's not because you want to go home and go to
No, no, no.
Oh, but it's-
There are
it's-
times, yeah, it's all these,
Oh.
it's beyond
Logistics,
logistics.
unfortunately, although we do have police officers on, and sometimes which works out better,
Yeah.
because obviously police officers' role means that they shouldn't really be getting involved in conflict.
Yeah.
So if you're working, that time at night, there's a likelihood actually there's more potential for conflict.
Right, Councillor Franks.
I was going to say to Councillor Davidson that there's an election coming on Thursday. You might want to ask the
That's why I said current MP.
I've already voted, it's too late. Thank you very much for that. Any other questions before we move on to the next? I'd be grateful if you could stay for the next Islamic Circle,
Yeah.
because I think it's a concern to you.
Yeah.
This is where we talk about our priorities for the coming year, at least. Now, you see what there were the last year, the antisocial behaviours, speeding and the drugs activity. I just wonder if you've got any comments on, if there's anything you think we should be looking at to add to that, or whether you think we should retain those before we actually discuss it between us. So, Neil, sorry.
Oh, sorry, no,
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you think of our last year's? What do you think they're three good priorities, or is there something you think we should add?
I haven't got all of that now, so which area?
So the three we had were antisocial behaviours,
Yeah.
speeding,
Yeah.
and drugs activity.
That's our top three.
Yeah, I thought it might be, yeah.
So is that going to be the town area?
This is for our town area, yes. It's our next item on the agenda, actually, to discuss it.
Yeah, with the ASB, going back to what I said before,
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that comes and, you know, ASB can be lots of different things. So that can be your habit smoking, you know, your groups of use, criminal damage, antisocial behaviour, a little bit sort of public order. So actually ASB covers a wide various of different things. Drugs, yeah, definitely. I'm not saying we've got a massive issue, obviously in Droitwich, but there is drug taking and drug dealing, and speeding. There's probably some areas which have been reported speeding, but when we've done the speeding surveys, it hasn't come up as high, but generally speeding across the board seems to have increased. So they're actually the top three, which most people.
Yes. Has anybody got any comments on this item? Neil, sorry.
Yes, thanks. So obviously, I was hoping that we could change one of them. Obviously, drugs is a big issue. I'm not going to pretend it's not an important issue. But as the Sergeant just says, it's not a big issue in Droitwich. It's also not something that the police are not going to take serious if we sort of change it ourselves. Because I think obviously as a local council, we should concentrate on maybe local issues that aren't maybe getting the sort of fanfare that some of the other big ticket issues are. And the one I want to bring forward is parking on pavements to the point that they are eliminating the ability for wheelchair and mobility scooter users to get past. Now, in some ways, for some it might seem like a small issue, but I can guarantee you I do get emails on this. And not only that, I was out on Friday and I came across a lady on Grosvenor Way who's very much bound to a wheelchair. And talking to her, she has a lot of problems, and there was cars parked on the pavement on Grosvenor Way, which were causing her problems. There's other problems she has as well, but that's a topic for another day. But I would like to ask if the councillors would take this seriously and push this forward with the police, to sort of when they're on their patrols, walking around, that they do look for this and tackle cars which are blocking access.
Is your feeling about that? Do you find it a major problem? People report to
There are some areas where it's a problem.
you. Yes, yes. I suppose what we could do is actually broaden speeding to include traffic measures and traffic problems, including speeding and parking on pavements.
Well, I would
That would
say
be a way around it, wouldn't
Well, I
it?
would say it kind of needs to be specific, we need more specific, because we need to look at all the looking
Yeah.
at issues, that it needs to be measurable,
it needs to be, you know, achievable. Because you can imagine we have lots of different priorities.
Yeah.
So we really need to think about what are the issues, and actually sort of try and narrow it down a little bit, because obviously we have a lot of priorities, which is speeding. Well, actually, we have got a huge area, so if we can maybe sort of try and narrow that down, so okay, which areas are the main issues with the speeding? Because it's very difficult for us to do our day-to-day job and look at every single road within our area. So we need sort of more specifics really. So priorities are about being very specific,
Yeah.
aren't they, and being manageable and able to address them. But they're so varied, we're not actually going to have to achieve anything.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you. Just to echo Councillor Francis, really, central Droitwich, particularly parking on pavements, is an issue, and areas like Chawson and Westlands as well to some degree. In central Droitwich, it's quite difficult because some roads you can't get up without parking on the pavement.
No, but it's that 1.2 metres, people can leave 1.2 metres
Yeah,
space, and the reason I think it's not reported so much is because people do not realise that that is a legal limit that has to be left. If there was an awareness campaign plus police action, I think we would start to see people, I'm not saying they're never going to park on pavements, that's not the law, but at least they could leave enough space for people to get past without any problems.
I support
I agree with
that.
that.
I support that.
Perhaps that would be an issue, an
More
option to put
awareness.
something on neighbourhood matters,
Yeah,
because that's quite widely spread, so we could do something like that, couldn't we?
I do agree, if we can
Put it on
publicise more
Facebook,
that
yeah.
there is a
Yeah.
particular distance to.
Yeah,
But I'm not talking about finding drivers unless they repeat the issue. Initially, having a conversation with them and just saying, did you realise that this is contravening the Disability Act? And then if they're persistent, yes, then fine.
Any other points on that one? Yes, David, yeah.
I think also the district councillors could inform the waste operatives not to leave wheelie bins blocking the pavements and causing problems at
I
the
would
same
think that
time.
forward,
for
actually, it's a good
people.
point.
Is there some way we can include that? People on priorities, because the main book would actually include this one.
Not really.
Because it could have three.
There's going to be three, but it'll be measurable and specific.
Yeah. Yes.
I would happily move that we retain the three we've got,
Yeah.
because I think they are the right three, but I do support the publicity campaign of the parking on pavements as well.
Yes,
obviously, when we're in our day-to-day business, you know, it's something that we can.
Are you happy with that, so Councillor Franks, if we put that forward?
Say that again, sorry. I was-
Well, if we keep to the three we've got, but then do a publicity campaign on what you're, on the parking, which I've got great lot of sympathy with actually.
Yeah.
So if we
Yeah.
actually made sure that highlight that, is that?
I'd be happy with that.
Can you do
Yeah.
some feet as well, please?
Sorry.
Feet as well as meters.
Actually, on the general point on that, I think it's the fact that that is a rule, it's about something most people aren't aware of. And I think that's why we need to publicise it.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good point, yeah. Okay, Ed, I'm going to propose it for that then. We've got to, we've got Richard and the board of that. If the only you seconded that, we'll look good. Yes. And all those in favour? Anybody against? Well, thank you very much for your inputs this evening. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for that. It's been very interesting. And you're doing a fantastic job for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathy, sorry to interrupt, but you can say, if you've got time, I know you probably haven't, but high school and youth council as well. Oh, right, we take 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's fine, yeah.
Right, moving on to item 6, the high school to receive an update from the senior students team from Spa High School. I've got a report to read out here. Okay, this is, hi Kate, that was to you. To you, all right, yeah. I just wanted to let you know that I cannot attend the meeting later as I have a mock exam after school, and therefore I will not be able to attend as it is a 3-hour exam. It's amazing how often work is in the way you social life, isn't it? However, below I have written everything to report about the school at the moment. Everything? Right. 1, as this is the end of the academic year, it means that exams are around the corner. Year 13s are now very much underway with revising and preparing for their A-levels, and so too are year 11s with their GCSEs. I like this one. Number 2, Waddle Week. W-A-D-D-L-E. Waddle Week. I thought you was a footballer a long time ago. This week is Waddle Week. Did you know this, everybody? Which is a week dedicated to fundraising, serious point though, but in Richard's Hospice. in return for decorating a penguin for the Waddle of Worcester. I'm already reading this. It is a week filled with various activities such as bake sale, snail racing, and face painting. Similar format to Charities Week, which has all been planned by Mrs. Truman, and I think he's here. Yeah. Our House Cup and Student League coordinator. Sounds great fun, that does. New head student team. Unfortunately, my time as head student comes to an end. This is a role that I very much enjoyed, with my personal highlight being raising over £7,000 during Charities Week. I'm certain the next head student team will be an even more successful one and raise even more money. Sorry for not being able to attend. Thank you, Brandon Conner. That's a super report, isn't it? I think we should send in our thanks for all the work he's done this year. I'm sure nobody will argue with that. Has anybody got any points to make on what I've just read out? Does anybody fancy dressing as a penguin and taking part in Waddle Week?
You sounded quite young when you did that.
That's right. Okay, then we move on to the Youth Council, which is Councillor Morris, you're going to say.
Well, I'm going to pass over to Mrs. Truman and the Youth Council first, I think.
Hello everyone, I'm Maisie Truman, I'm a maths teacher at the high school. I've also got responsibility over some personal development, the House Cup, a bit like Hogwarts, and student leadership. So we've got Finn and Sophie here, who are just going to tell you all a little bit about one of the opportunities for student leadership they've had as part of a new generation of the Youth Council.
So far, we've started the Youth Council. We've had one in Spirit at the high school and one at Westgate. Throughout these meetings, we first of all just got to know everyone on the schools, because there's obviously the first schools and then the high schools, so one another. We talked about improvements we want to make with Droitwich and things we want to see from our perspective, and basically just been working on different things like that, discussing road safety, maybe making the town look nicer. And last meeting we talked about a walk to school week.
One also big important thing about being in the council is creative events, which we have made a big one. So Mr. Truman, Councillor Morris, we have made the Walk to School Week, which is where each student every year gets to walk to school instead of using transport. There may be some problems though. Students might take the bus, which is okay, because we are going to make sure that every student is equal by making sure that they can walk from points to their school, making it fair for everyone. Also, there are some rewards for students. From the younger students, there are going to be like extra points, rewards, making sure that they get extra pay. But for the high school, we're going to make sure that they've got stuff that they would like, so gift wraps in that lot. And a benefit of doing this is also like, it makes people together in friendships, because they'll be walking to school with their friends as well. And also it's a big opportunity for everyone to get outdoors and start walking to school.
Yeah, it's been really, really great seeing all of the schools, all the pyramid schools come together, not just Droitwich but the surrounding areas as well, to make a difference really, and to start planning and implementing. And the support for the National Walk to School Week is the first thing that the Student Council have implemented, and they've made all their own posters and their hints and tip sheets to support participation, regardless of how far away they live, things like drop-off points and where it might be safe to park and then walk, so there's still some participation there. And also some prizes, it's going to be our participation of it, schools participation of it is going to be sponsored by River Fitness, who have said that they're looking to some prizes and things so that schools can run their own kind of independent competitions. But these guys have been great at rallying the troops and putting first feet forward really into hopefully building a really great youth council that can sustain, because COVID kind of got in the way of the last one. Does anyone have any questions about the youth council? More questions for these guys?
It's just about the report on the improvements that you want to make to the town, and whether that could come to the town council to draw on.
Yeah, great.
George, yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to say a huge congratulations on putting together a project that gets people out of their cars and gets people walking. That's a huge achievement. Look forward to its success. If there's anything we can do to help make the drop-off areas, which I thought was a great way to make it even more inclusive, if there's any way we can support the areas that you've identified as good drop-off points, please let us know.
Councillor Morris.
Yeah, I'd just like to say well done to Mrs. Truman and the team, the Youth Council. It's very different this time for those that do remember the Youth Council. Really, previously it was just the high school. Now, as Mrs. Truman said, it's the pyramid. So we have a high number of schools at all different ages involved. So we put some issues forward, such as congestions at schools, such as churning over the grass outside of schools, hence the School to Week. Walk to school came about really as a way of getting fitter, but also getting out in the air. And it, Mrs. Truman found that it coincided with the Walk to School Week as well, which is really good. Rivers Fitness, obviously on that fitness aspect, are happy to come on board to try and support in terms of some of the prizes and offerings there. But it really is healthy. The next meeting we're having at Wychavon in June. And then a meeting in the autumn, I think we're planning to go to Envirosort at Norton to look at some of the litter picking and some of the keeping the streets tidy as well as part of the objectives. So there's a good programme building up in terms of action that the Youth Council will get involved in.
Yes, thank you for that. Any other points on that? Yes, stop there. I'm glad to see that's up and running, and I look forward, hopefully next year, hopefully I'm wearing a different chain from this, to coming to some of your meetings. And I think it's very important that we hear your case. And actually this about the walking links with Councillor Franks talking about the parking, because it's quite horrendous, isn't it? So it's a good point. I think we're over to you again, Mrs. Truman, for the next music, for the next item, which is all about the youth in your.
Yes, so I met with the Mayor, and she very much wanted to have an opportunity to celebrate the youth. But we agreed that it would absolutely be best if it was student-led, student-selected, so that really it was youth celebrating youth. And what we've come up with is this year is called the Teen Awards. We're kind of trialing it, so kind of for high school age upwards at the moment. And the students themselves, they brainstormed ideas about what they would want to celebrate about each other. And from that work, where we had quite a lot of different tables, all of our tutor captains as well, but quite a big student leadership team at the high school, the 4 kind of key themes were pulled out. And that includes commitment to the community, leading in kindness, an achievement award, and courageous youth. And there's actually just 1 day left to send nominations in. But we sent that out on our social media, we've sent that out to all the parents, the staff at school, and all the students. And we've had quite a few nominations, including things like for the Achievement Award, for example, we've got a student that's just been signed to Aston Villa. We've got a student who is going to go do some fishing for England in the kind of youth championships. Is amazing. In terms of courageous youth, we've had some nominations about students that have stood up to kind of incidents of bullying things on their estates. We've also had, for leading in kindness, we've had some nominations about some students who've been quite vulnerable actually, and said about how their friends have supported them through quite severe mental health difficulties. And commitment in the community, we had a nomination about a student who volunteers her time every weekend for some of the Lido tennis community games and things, which is just so lovely to read. And I'm just collating them as the coordinator, but it's going to be our student leadership team that shortlist and select the winners over the next week as well. So it's very much them deciding who they want to celebrate. And I'm very much excited that they will be invited to the annual council to kind of be awarded, which is great. even though we have had some great nominations, we haven't had as many nominations as I kind of hoped for. So I think moving forward, we definitely might open it up. So instead of teen awards next year, we might look at youth awards and look at getting more schools involved, and sending that out so that it can really be any of the youth, not just teenagers.
Thank you very much. Yes. I know it's something the mayor is very keen on, and it's one that all of us are very keen on. I know she's really looking forward to doing that at the annual council, and we'll look forward to seeing the results there and meeting with the winners. It's a great achievement to have got that going, and I really do approve of that. I think it's great that we're doing that. I think it's actually wonderful that we've been hearing about antisocial behaviour, and to find that we've got the vast majority of our young people are absolutely doing superb things, and it's great to hear that. So many thanks for coming, and many thanks as well to the police officers there. If you want any more questions before we
Just thank them.
yeah. Please feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting. Right, thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we are now on to item 9, which is the SIL levy. I'm going to read this out. You've seen that we've got in the region of £20,000 to spend before the end of October on various things. What it's got to be is quite restricted what we can spend this on. And one of the ideas put forward, I'm not saying we're going to do this necessarily, was to do something about some of the bus shelters. I'm going to hand over to Mark, as we did discuss this earlier. So,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you, Chairman. Just to recap, we've got just short of 20,000. The purposes are quite specific that are on the agenda. So provision, improvement, placement, and maintenance of infrastructure, or anything else concerned with addressing the demands that the development places on an area. We've got that 20,000 made up of 3 payments. The recommendation is to spend it as one amount, because this extra 10,000 that we've received doubles the amount, so it makes that value go further, so we can do more with it, which I think has been part of the issue before, that we've not allocated it. We do need to allocate at least the 2,000 from Coventry by October, because it's either use it or return it to the district, and that would not be a good outcome. So the option on bus shelters, we have a couple of inquiries, and I know Councillor Clements spoke to me. It's regarding the ASB, but we've had pockets of areas in Droitwich which have been targeted, so there's 4 or 5 that we are looking at completely replacing, so taking out Perspex bus shelters and replacing them with the quite simple design iron ones. The reason for that is that they will be less attractive to be targeted, and it means that we need to coat them with anti-graft paint. You can't do that with Perspex ones. That's seemingly why they keep getting either broken, smashed, or covered in graffiti. So there's a couple on Selveston Way. There's Ombersley Way. We are missing a bus shelter there that was destroyed by that over the influence driver last autumn, so that was a write-off. So in round terms, bus shelters are about £4,000 or £5,000 to buy. So with economies of scale, we could get 3 or 4 easily, or part fund some of that. So it's just a suggestion, but that would fit the community use.
Yes. Any comments on that before we do anything?
And
Totally against it or totally in favour? Councillor Franks?
Oh, sorry, I think George.
Sorry, George.
Just a statement of support. I think bus stops are a great way to make sure we're connecting up the new areas of our town with our great town centre.
Yeah. Councillor Franks?
2 things. One, Crimson Way, towards the end with, I can't think I'm losing my, it's just the one opposite near Arkle Road. There's no bus shelter there, which would be quite useful. Obviously, one from your county councillor is that it doesn't have disabled access, there's no path coming from Suffolk Way, there's also no drop curb to get to the actual bus stop itself, so those issues definitely need to be resolved, but also a bus shelter would be pretty useful as well. And the other one as well is, I understand the issues with the antisocial behaviour, but, you know, I mentioned previously about the one that got demolished and having a sort of eco, nature-driven one, and I don't know if there was any feedback on that, you managed to get a price on it, but I wonder if people seeing that, they may not graffitiise it, because it's something that is part of the community, like wildlife. It tends to be eco stuff, seems to get a reprieve when it comes to antisocial behaviour quite often, so I do wonder if that might help.
Yes. So is that the general feeling that this bus shelter idea is a good one?
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, and yes, I would certainly support that. If I may very quickly just mention the footpath issue that's just been raised. There is a historical issue with restaurants and what happened with that, I've been working on it for quite a long time. But yes, I'm very much in favour of this.
If we could try and get drop curb really put on.
Yes.
Just on like the obviously eco bit of the bus shelter, obviously in the Lido we've got the bike rack, but that is quite eco-ish. Builds. It doesn't look like it'd be too expensive for owners to maybe drop aspects of what's there into bus shelters as well, which could be quite.
Yeah. So I think the way forward. Sorry, Councillor. Councillor Della. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not against this being spent on bus shelters, but I would like us to see if we can consult the community in some way, whether they have other ideas. I think if it's community.
I think the suggestion to move on is that we ask any councillor to pass on information of where they'd like these bus shelters or any other ideas to Mark and Katie.
New and existing bus shelters, then that'll help me do a paper on that, and then I suggest bringing that back early, either June or July through resources committee. By that time I've got the costing, so you'll see what's in scope, whether it's going to use all of that fund or a combination of contribution from that and the capital spend, depending on the demand for it. I estimate it's probably 4 or 5 bus shelters, so we're looking at 25,000 round terms.
I support the bus shelters, but B under the item, I just want the money from Woodland Way to stay on Woodland Way.
Yeah.
It's very much cut off from the rest of the town, and it's a community that we need to be investing in to support. It's one that we've complained about often enough that they don't have sufficient infrastructure. So we need to be supporting that community, I think, and integrating it as much as we can.
Would they need a bus shelter?
Sorry, could you make remarks to the chair, please? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Chair. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was just wondering, because Councillor Francis raised one spot where one's needed. I presume there are buses, we haven't isolated them that, to that extent. And would there be a need for a bus shelter up there?
Possibly. Yes.
Maybe with Woodland Way, 'cause it's quite a new estate, we could try support, maybe see more about what that community wants, because it's new, they may not, we may not necessarily know.
Well, that's why I think we're suggesting that people find out. So we don't make it, obviously we don't make a decision now. We can't anyway. But it's something to look at. It's got to be spent by October, so it gives us a bit of leeway. Yes, Councillor Duffy?
I think going along with the green roof shelters, the one in the Lido has proved quite good. Could we ask Mark that you contact Wychavon to see what the cost was? And I know the outside doesn't leave much to be vandalised, but the actual roof bits where the greenery sits hasn't been sort of climbed on and destroyed. I hadn't heard it before.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I go past it all the time.
It always looks like it's staying.
Exactly. I've never seen any issue with social behaviour with it. So.
Look at it today, actually, was I? It's the past that we're doing. I thought I had an issue with today. I couldn't do my normal walk, but that's digressing. Any other points on that before we move on to the next item? No, thank you. I think that's all agreed. Item 10, Neighbourhood Development Plan Project Report, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to present a summary report of the Neighbourhood Development Plan as circulated. I've updated project funding to date, covering the 2 elapsed periods, 2022-23 and 23-24 in total. And the key project stages covered at the last steering group meeting at the end of February. Looking at the funding eligibility, we are approximately 50% of the expended position so far and on track to remain virtually cost neutral for our consultant standard professional fees for delivery of the project. We're now at the policy drafting stage for the overall neighbourhood development plan, which is straightforward and is expected to be ready in July. And at this point, I'd also like to thank our town clerk and his colleagues for all the hard work they put in to support this project, which is quite complex, and to make it happen. Thank you.
Good. Any questions to Councillor Brooks or any comments? Yes, Councillor Hopkins.
Yes, just a couple of small issues. One, you have steering group meetings, but there aren't any minutes issued. And it would be quite useful for those that are interested in the neighbourhood plan to know what's going on. For example, there's a programme this week on Wednesday afternoon from 2 till 3:30, which would be quite good for members if they could attend it. That's done by the people who actually run the concept. So I shall certainly be listening to that, and I think it's something that, whereas we're not on the day-to-day thing for some reasons, I personally would like to be able to know what's going on, and if there's a meeting, the steering group, I would quite appreciate a copy of minutes. And as I say, I'm looking forward to the Zoom event on Wednesday afternoon, which it's Wednesday's the 1st, which I think will be very useful. Because you hear a lot of words which you don't know what it's all about, and this is going to fill in on the design side, which I think is very important. And I think myself, I think we have to start zoning in on things like zero carbon houses rather than old-fashioned houses that people pay a lot of money for today, but they don't really get much better building than they could have got 20 years ago. But that's basically my point.
Councillor Clark would like to respond, I think.
Yes. Just in answer to that question, Councillor Hopkins, the minutes for steering group are on the website, Town Council website.
I know the early one is.
Yeah. So they're all on there apart from the last slot, and they'll be accepted at the next meeting in July.
That was the one.
Yeah.
That was the one.
I can let you know when the meeting is in early July, when consultants done draft policies, because as we have said before, I think through Councillor Brooks' reports, any councillors are welcome to either attend a meeting at the steering group or join the steering group.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to thank you on that. That's what I wanted to make. You are always welcome.
Yeah. There's one point I forgot, was the opposition group are going to submit, follow your request, for members of the council to come up with ideas about how to project the project to the people in public. And we're basically going to put something together which we will submit before July, obviously.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I would just like to thank you for that. That will be, after July, will be the next round of consultation. So any constructive suggestions there would be most welcome. Receive obviously proper consideration.
Well, we think it's something we'd like to do.
Certainly, very helpful.
Okay, any other points before we, on that item? Thank you, Councillor Hopkins, for raising those things. Okay, moving on to the community legacy. Before, just to say that it is getting to the nitty-gritty of this now, it's a point where it's going forward. I want to just mention it first of all.
Yes, Chairman, there was two things really. Firstly, just to confirm, we've asked Nigel Buxton MP for a statement of support for the consultation. He's done a really good letter for us, really detailed support the project. So we're pleased with that. That's part of the evidence gathering that will go in. We've had well into 3 figures of responses, several hundred on the consultation now, which is still live until literally the end of this week. And just going on from Nigel's contribution, I did send out a draft statement
to ask just respectfully if all members would support that, just to sign it, let us have that in the next week or two, because we'd like to add that to the portfolio of evidence and consultation, which will help support the.
I'm going to show you as a member of the panel. It is very cool. Has everybody seen this? This is the, so perhaps we could circulate it again. Is that possible tomorrow? So that people can do that. It's, let's pass it round, that's what it looks like. Thank you. It's there. Right, there you go. But I think we still need people out to guess, because I can assure you that is one of the major things that the evidence that the town supports it. We've got a lot of public support, and we need to get it from the town council and the district councillors. Hint, as well. I'm sure that'll happen, but I look forward to this progressing. I think it's a fantastic project, and let's hope it comes to fruition. Anybody got any comments on the CLG? That will come round now. Okay, so moving on to item 12. Can we have somebody propose that we take these on block, all 9 items?
Happy to propose.
Councillor Brook, the second to that, Councillor Duffy. Oh, sorry, Chris, you could have got your name in the minutes. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Right, councillor, item 13, it's me actually, isn't it? Yeah. This is the place board. Talk about this. Yes, we're moving on with the place board. It's got some exciting projects. Obviously, the Lido one is moving forward through Whitchapel, and we're now waiting for, I think it's July, isn't it, where it goes to the executive board next time, I'm saying, yeah. So the other items we've been looking at, one is the murals, some extra murals in the town centre, one of them. One of them is developing Tower Hill to be more of a tourist attraction, developing that. Another one is the planting, doing some more planting, and actually putting artificial flowers. I got outvoted on this. I was the one vote, by the way, Richard.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a great fan of artificial flowers, as somebody whose family business is horticulture. I did object to this one, but I've got to accept it's democratic. So, and that there's a lot more colour and flowers within all shop fronts and on the lights we've got already and such like. And then we're still looking at future events as well. So we're really moving forward with this, and hopefully we'll keep reporting back on it. I don't know, yes, Bob, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. If I may, a couple of points I'd be very grateful could be raised with the place board. First of all, I'm very now. I think it's a marvellous opportunity, obviously, to Brian Batty, I was going to say that. But nonetheless, it's something which is a great opportunity, but it's also quite complex technically. And I was very keen that the Brian consultant that Sol had, and I think he is the only person in the country who actually could deal with the speciality requirements for processing concentrated brine, that this consultant should be invited to meet up with and work with the consultants who are doing the general architectural design and layout, because it seems to me that no one, frankly, no one would have the technical knowledge apart from 1 or 2 people, and this guy is one of those 2 people. So I would like to ask that the 2 should be introduced and work together, because then it can get the best results. Because obviously it's useful at the early stages of laying out a building, well, you need room for this plant there, or you need to do that sort of information. That's one thing I'd like to bring forward. And the other thing which I'm very disappointed about, again, it's a very specialised thing for brine baths, and it's unique, but the nearest we can get to it is Nirvana Spa have a number of installations where they actually have a brine bath, but of course they have to actually buy bags of salt and mix it with water, and it's not quite the same thing. But nonetheless, it gives a good idea of how it appears, how it's used by the public, and so on. And Sobs actually offered for the people from the place board to go on a 1-day visit at Sobs' expense to a branch of Nirvana Spa, simply to see and experience and understand how a brine bath works, and what it looks like and how it feels. And again, it's from this point of bringing in all of the knowledge, all the expertise to understand and come up to the end with a really top-notch outcome. It seems silly, again, not to take advantage of this. And I'm most disappointed that it hasn't been taken up, and I would like to see that taken up before final decisions are made. So that's really 2 items of involving the expertise that's been gathered over a number of years by SALT and that for the benefit of the town. It seems silly just to waste that. So I'd be grateful if it could be brought forward.
Yeah, I will do, but I think to be fair, we're waiting for the next move from Woodchester and the Bank Foundation, is that right? Morris, I think that's what we're waiting for. Then we can move on to this detail, and I agree with you, it'd be a nice idea.
Yeah.
Then we really need to develop that, but at the moment, I think the priority is getting the agreements from Chamber in general principle to the whole project.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, obviously, I agree with the funding is the most important thing, but nonetheless, once that funding is there, I want to see it spent absolutely appropriately and to the best results.
Councillor Davis.
Just in case I missed something, has it been decided where this Brian Bars is going to be?
No, that's what I'm saying, it's in the early stages.
And again, my idea was that both those, both the brine expert who will look at how the brine gets there, how it gets disposed of and the rest of it, and the commercial aspect in the Barnes Park, because that was the other thing SALT had produced, originally based on the reopening the brine bus at the back here. SALT have already produced a fully worked costed proposal for actually the operating cost and everything else to justify it. And again, those figures could easily be reworked for the potential new site perhaps. But again, I'd just like to see that we're all working together and not losing pockets of very useful information.
Thank you.
I thank you for your support there.
We move on to county council matters. I think Councillor Morris, you've circulated something and you want to talk about something else as well.
Thank you. Yes, circulated, well, through the town clerk, we circulated my update. The big news was Westlands Roundabout, where we now have funding to actually commence with a crossing of Westlands Roundabout, many years in the planning, but now secured 470,000 from the government for an active travel cycle walkway. That has completed the funding, which is circa 1 million, to put a crossing at Westlands Roundabout. So I'd like to thank our MP for his lobbying, Councillor Mike Rouse, who's the Highways and Infrastructure Cabinet member, as well as other officers at County Council for supporting and bringing that forward. The second one, there's underpass refurbishments going to start on Westlands to King George by Westacre and Chawson Pleck. Two of those sites do have murals in, and I've reminded them of that. I would just hate to see somebody that they're covered over with a refurbishment, so I have reminded them. They're telling me the one by Westacre will clear the graffiti as well, but we'll wait and see that if that arises. Pathways and road resurfaces, Hunter's Place, Farris Square are now complete and Crofters is underway. Briar Hill Roundabout is due to commence shortly up by the school going up to Westwood Way. And George Bayliss Road will be starting soon as well, going right on to Berry Hill Industrial Estate. Canal Bridges, Valley Walk, New Tawson is now complete and open. It's a brilliant bridge. I don't know if any of you have a walk around there, but it's a superb looking bridge. And the one across King George's to Ledwich will open by the end of the month. Got a couple of days left. County divisional funds, if you whacked over on the sheet of paper, if you printed it off. So George Spa Disability Club, I supported the tournament for them. They're a fantastic group of youngsters. Friends of Droitwich Railway Station, I supported the Rosie Philpott new map that they've utilised at the station. We're actually hoping to utilise that map elsewhere in the town as well. We're working on that at the moment. Saltfest last year. Chawson Valley Community Association, I supported the new carpets that they've had there. Moonstone Support Services for telephone calls, befriending services. Droitwich Spa Civic Society, I supported the play that we held at the theatre at the high school to mark the John Hemmings anniversary. Chawson Area Residents Association, we have a residents association, so I've given them a starter fund, effectively to help them set up and get created and going. AOS Youth Group on Westlands, they meet on a Thursday. They are a fantastic youth group, they've got 15 members. I've spent an evening there and they're fun, but they're challenging. But I've secured Easter through to summer with their activity. and then we will discuss onwards from there. And Royce Spa Youth Council that you've heard tonight, I gave them some starter funding to get organised and set up as well. What I want to do finally, if I may, is actually move a motion. So if I can read this out, please. The D-Day Normandy landscape landings of the 6th of June 1944 were the largest seaborne invasion in history and marked the beginning of the liberation of France and Western Europe. There will be celebrations marking the D-Day 80th anniversary with events in the UK and in Normandy on the 6th of June, as well as with community events around the UK. Our town council will also be putting on a commemoration here at St Richard's House and supporting the beacon at Dodderhill. We would like to encourage the Droitwich community to join in on the commemoration of this important occasion. So it's a motion really just asking for the community to get behind D-Day 80. So I would like to move that and hope there would be a seconder to support it.
That's a proposal from Councillor Morris for a statement of support.
Yeah. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, I'm very happy to say that. I do agree that's the most important thing to commemorate, and I think hopefully we'll also be seeing some activities from the heritage team here. I'm hoping we might actually have the radio broadcast with the reports from the day.
Can I ask, do we have any survivors of D-Day in Droitwich still? They're very old, but
I'm sure there will be some. That's why D-Day 80 is so important, because it's probably the last time there will be a few survivors around.
I know my own uncle got the Legions on Earth, so but he's passed away unfortunately. So, can we, have we got a proposal second, all in favour of that motion, please? Thank you. Anybody against? Shouldn't think so. Thank you. I think that's something to look forward to on the 6th of June. We will be,
So I put it under county because I'm going to raise a similar motion at council as well. So,
right, Bob, if there's anything to add to,
I don't think it could be other than just
follow that, as they say.
follow that.
Yes.
Other than just mentioning that I'm very pleased that the county council, whilst the purse strings are extremely tight, is solvent in some areas through good management, and although I do have a lot of schemes for footpath improvements around the town, but they're having to take their turn because obviously funds are tight, and but as and when I say I am seeing some upgrades done, I've got a lot more in the pipeline, but I don't want to broadcast what they are because obviously I don't want to raise expectations too quickly. Certainly they will happen.
We move on to I-15 District Council matters. Councillor Duffield wants to report on this.
So I'll apologise for not having circulated a written report. Most of it's more a verbal nod to the work being done. You may have heard throughout the year so far that we're on Wychavon's 50th year of being a formal entity. And our Wychavon chair finished his tour of the district, having visited every ward. Something which, as far as we know, hasn't been done in its 50 years so far. To reel off what he's visited throughout the district, I think we'd be here all day, but I know that Churchfields was one of his more prized deliveries, more prized visits, possibly because it came with free ice cream. As well as leisure centre improvements in Droitwich that I've updated on before, there's money is promised for improvements, carbon improvements to Evesham and Pershaw's leisure centres as well, which I'm sure will help inform the upgrades to our own. As well as planned improvements through the Place Board to the Lido, which even are currently upgrading the Lido toilets, including improved changing places, although we've been updated that there is a slight delay to that. But shouldn't be too much longer.
They're working there today. They were there today.
Good. So not a delay through lack of people on site. I think it's worth updating on our Morrison's toilets as well, or whatever you'd like to call the area between Morrison's and St Andrew's Shopping Centre. The toilets there sort of having been noted and reported by a few people as not being in the award-winning states that we would like to see them in, and that they're often, and that they're annually awarded for. This has been reported up through Wychavon multiple times. But I would urge anyone, if they find the toilets in any kind of condition that's not acceptable, please report it. I believe the details are on the building to report it. As with something we probably could have stressed with the police as well, the importance of reporting things, even if it's not likely to see an immediate improvement then and there. Well, I hope that toilets would see a pretty swift improvement if reported, but the importance of reporting to make sure that the information of how frequently these sort of things are happening is vital. And finally, as with underpasses around much of Droitwich West, around the Westlands, around Westacre Middle School, there are art projects being planned and being underway for underpasses around Chawton as well. I think there are 2 selected in Chawton, although I wouldn't know the exact names of them, but the one going under Self-Vestian Way, and the other,
Camp Chawton Fleck.
Camp Furlong, Chawton Fleck sort of area. I believe that covers a lot of
Thank you very much.
Chavens' current
I'll
ongoing.
say thank you as well to them for the Lido car paths, massively improved already, despite the weather. I didn't walk around there today. Any other points by any district councils or any questions, Councillor Davison?
No, only to say that I inspected the gents' toilet on the way here, and I was unable to get any disinfectant from either of the things you press. I don't know if you have to press them 100 times or but when I recorded the condition a couple of weeks ago, that was the situation then, in at least one of them. And either they've been used a lot or they've been out of order for a couple of weeks.
Definitely worth reporting. I think from some of the conditions that people have notified me about or shown me from inside the toilets, it does make me wonder whether a lot of the really unpleasant states that I've heard about have been deliberate. I can see sort of general wear and tear causing that much, but other people are sort of editing those, but as long as they're being reported. It's probably also worth mentioning as anyone who's particularly observant to any lack of action, I'd like to reassure everyone that pressure is being put within Wychavon to see some progress on the Raven. We haven't seen any progress that I've known of from the developer as of yet, but reassurances and progress on the finalisation of the planning application, ensuring that's in place. But pressure is ongoing.
Thank you, thank you. Any other points or questions to Mr. Duffy? Just to say, hope you enjoy your year as chairman of Wychavon. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did when I did it, so I'm sure you will. And have a very good year. Congratulations, a couple of weeks' time, isn't it? Thank you. Right, our next item is to consider the exclusion. Sorry about this. Thank you for coming. And yeah, okay. Okay. Still have to read it though. To pass the following motion, that the press and public are now excluded from the meeting under the Provisions of Public Bodies and Meetings Act 1960 by virtue of the confidential nature of the business matter transacted, which involves financial and legal matters. Oh, can I have a proposer for that, please? Councillor Brooks, and seconder, Councillor Morris. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, so we move on to item 17, and my note says pass to Mark.